Hey guys, tonight you're not just watching a story, you're living it. Imagine waking up, strapped inside the unforgiving suit of Darth Vader. Every breath you take is a struggle. The weight of the armor, the endless pain, the shadows of your past haunting every moment. Can you handle a day in his life? Tonight, we'll walk together in the footsteps of the galaxy's most feared Sith Lord. But that's just the beginning. So get comfy, maybe grab a snack, but keep your lightsaber close, because this journey into the dark side is about to get real. Don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives like this, and drop a comment telling me where in the galaxy you're watching from. It's always cool to see where Star Wars fans come together. Alright, let's step into the darkness. So, you just woke up, but not like any regular morning. No cozy bed or fresh air, no peaceful sunlight pouring through your window. Instead, your world is a symphony of heavy metal clanks and hissings. You're trapped inside a black suit, cold, heavy, unyielding. This is the armor of Darth Vader, one of the most feared Sith Lords in the galaxy. It's both your prison and your lifeline. Welcome to your new reality. At first glance, it might seem like being Darth Vader is all power and glory. After all, you wield the dark side of the Force, have an army under your command, and strike fear into the hearts of millions. But the truth, it's a torturous existence, one that would break almost anyone who isn't prepared. The life of Vader is a constant battle, not just against enemies, but against the suit, the pain, and the crushing weight of regret. First off, the suit itself is a technological marvel, but also a cage. It keeps you alive after the terrible injuries that nearly killed you on Mustafar. Your burned flesh, shattered bones, and destroyed lungs all need the life support the suit provides, but it's suffocating. Every breath is mechanical, every movement a calculated effort against the heavy armor. Imagine wearing a metal shell, weighing you down at every step, pressing against your skin. Except your skin is damaged beyond repair. Your body screams for relief, but there is none. And then there's the constant pain. Vader's body is ravaged, nerve endings raw, and the suit's systems can only mask so much. The Sith Lord is a prisoner of his own existence, forced to endure agony while maintaining an aura of terrifying strength. The agony isn't just physical, there's the emotional torment too, the crushing weight of lost family, of a past full of mistakes, and the bitter anger that fuels his connection to the dark side. Now, if you think the Force makes everything easier, think again. The Force is a tool, powerful, yes, but demanding. Using it drains energy, focus, and patience. Vader relies on it to move faster, strike harder, even breathe better. But overuse can leave you vulnerable. Without the Force, you're just a heavily armored man, struggling to move. And without the Force, enemies would see your true weakness, a broken body barely held together by technology. Let's talk about daily survival. While on the surface, Vader commands fleets and leads deadly missions. The behind-the-scenes reality is grim. The suit's life support systems need constant maintenance, something only the best Imperial technicians can handle. Without repairs, systems fail. A breach in the armor means death. A failing respirator means suffocation. Each day is a test of endurance, balancing the fragile technology that sustains you with the endless demands of your dark purpose. Food, water, sleep, all these basic human needs become complicated. The suit makes eating almost impossible in the traditional sense. Vader survives on specialized medical nourishment, often administered through the helmet or tubes. Sleep is another story. Vader's body can't rest as normal humans do. His dreams are haunted by memories and dark visions, interrupted by pain and the constant hum of machinery. But beyond the physical and mental strain lies a deeper truth. Vader is a symbol, a legend, a terrifying enforcer of the Empire's will. His mask is his face, his voice a mechanical growl. No one sees the man beneath, the conflicted soul, the former Jedi who once was Anakin Skywalker. And in this isolation, Vader's loneliness becomes a silent enemy, gnawing at his sanity. Would you last a day in this existence? Could you bear the endless suffering for the sake of power and revenge? The Sith path is not one of glory, but sacrifice. Sacrifice of self, of humanity, and often of hope. Darth Vader's story is a cautionary tale wrapped in black armor. A reminder that behind every legend lies a human burden heavier than any lightsaber. So as you take your first steps in his shoes, feel the weight of that armor. Hear the steady mechanical breath that keeps you alive, but reminds you how close you are to the edge. This is not just survival. It's a battle, every moment, fought with pain, power, and an unyielding will. And this is only the beginning. Without the Force, enemies would see your weakness, and weakness, for a Sith Lord, is a death sentence. Your life as Darth Vader is isolation. Every interaction is cold and calculated. You no longer speak in your own voice. It's a filtered growl distorted through the vocoder of your helmet. Even simple communication has lost its humanity. No one dares question you, but not out of respect, it's fear. You're alone in every room, even when surrounded by subordinates. No friends, no family, only silence and duty. Every execution, every punishment, chips away at what little humanity remains inside, and the whispers of Anakin Skywalker, the man you used to be, grow fainter by the day. A wife you couldn't save, a Jedi temple bathed in fire, children screaming, ghosts from your past clawing at your mind, and then the cold darkness returns. And let's talk about combat. As Vader, you are a walking weapon, but it's not easy. Every swing of your lightsaber is a weighty, deliberate act. You're not agile like you once were. You rely on brute power and precision, not speed. Your fighting style is terrifying because it's efficient, every strike meant to kill. But you have no margin for error. If you trip, if you falter, your enemies, be they Jedi, bounty hunters, or rebels, will not show mercy. Despite all this, your survival depends on staying angry. That's the core of the Sith. Rage, hate, pain, it's what fuels your power, but it's also what burns you from the inside. There's no peace, no serenity, just fury, constantly churning like lava in your veins. If that fire dims, your power fades. So you keep it alive. You replay the betrayals, you feed your hatred with the memory of loss, and it eats away at whatever soul is left in you. And then there's the Emperor. You're not free, you serve him. Sidious is always watching, always testing, always manipulating. You're powerful, but you're still a tool. You might be the enforcer, the monster everyone fears, but you're still on a leash. One flicker of doubt, and he could replace you. You know it, he knows it, and that knowledge hangs over you like a shadow, constantly. This is your life now, a legacy of fear, a prison of steel, a heartbeat replaced with static. You are Darth Vader, but the question isn't whether you'd survive a day like this, it's whether you'd even want to. You're standing aboard a Star Destroyer, but you're not a soldier or a guest, you're in command. The moment you step onto the bridge, conversations fall silent. Officers straighten their posture, eyes avoiding yours. It's not respect they feel, it's fear. The kind that grips the spine and stays long after you leave the room. You don't have to speak, your presence alone says enough. You are the warning, you are the reason they double-check every calculation, the shadow behind every order. A junior officer miscalculates a hyperspace jump. It's a small error, one that might go unnoticed by anyone else, but not you. You turn to face him, and the air in the room changes. Without a word, you raise your hand. The officer's throat tightens. He gasps, eyes wide, feet scraping against the floor as he chokes. Around you, no one dares move. You release him, and he collapses, struggling to breathe. You don't look back. You keep walking. The message is clear. This is your world now. You're not simply a commander. You're a symbol of absolute power, a figure cloaked in black, with a voice wrapped in metal, and a presence that silences entire fleets. You don't eat with your crew, you don't speak unless necessary, and no one truly knows what lies beneath the mask. All they understand is that when Darth Vader appears, mistakes become fatal. You return to your private chamber, a black shell within the ship, where machines whisper and wires keep your body alive. You sit inside the meditation pod, the only place where the suit comes off, even partially. For a few minutes, you can almost breathe, almost think. The weight of your armor doesn't vanish, but the pressure on your chest loosens. You don't feel peace, only absence, emptiness, the kind that can't be filled. Then the call comes from the Emperor. You kneel before his towering presence, his face hidden beneath a hood, voice sharp and cold. He doesn't offer praise, he speaks only of failure. The Jedi you were sent to eliminate still lives, and your hesitation, your distraction, allowed him to escape. He doesn't mention Padme, but you hear her name in every pause. You nod, accept the blame, and leave. Back on the battlefield, the mission resumes. A hidden rebel base is discovered, and you lead the assault. Blaster fire rips through the air, alarms blare, but you walk forward without pause. Your lightsaber ignites in a flash of red. You move like a force of nature, cutting through resistance, overwhelming every defense. A young rebel charges, blaster shaking in his grip. He's brave, determined, but it doesn't matter. You crush his hopes and end the fight with one strike. They try to run, they always do, but there's nowhere to go. You walk through smoke and fire, your breathing steady, unchanging. The world around you burns, and still your pace never falters. This is life as Darth Vader. You are feared by every corner of the galaxy, but no one trusts you. No one ever will. You sleep in a machine, not a bed. You eat through tubes, you no longer dream of victory, only of flames, screams, and the moments you can't take back. Your body is armor and scars. Your soul is a battlefield. You were promised power, but given pain. You were told you'd bring order, but now you bring fear. You are the enforcer of an empire that no longer sees you as a man, just a tool, a weapon. And even in your quietest moments, when the galaxy forgets your name, the breathing continues. Mechanical, relentless, inescapable. So if you ever imagined what it's like to be him, to wear the armor, to walk among the stars as a Sith Lord, know this, you wouldn't last a day. Not in the suit, not in the silence, not with the weight of what you've done. Becoming Darth Sidious, the price of unlimited power. You are no longer Sheev Palpatine. That name is dust, a hushed whisper from a life long buried beneath the shadow of the Sith. You are Darth Sidious now, the Dark Lord of the Sith, architect of galactic collapse, and the single greatest manipulator the galaxy has ever known. But if you think becoming the Emperor of the Galactic Empire was a reward, you have much to learn. Your story begins not with a throne, but with a whisper, cold and ancient, drifting to you through forbidden texts and dark tomes deep within the archives of Naboo. You feel it before you understand it. The dark side doesn't introduce itself gently. It coils around you like smoke, promising power, feeding your thirst for control. It seduces, it corrupts. And once you let it in, there's no turning back. To become Sidious, you must renounce every mortal weakness. Mercy, compassion, even empathy. That's not poetic exaggeration. That's literal. You begin to see life not as something sacred, but as a resource. People become pawns. Entire planets become stepping stones. Your master, Darth Plagueis, once saw the galaxy as a laboratory. You see it as a chessboard. But this clarity comes at a cost. You can't sleep like others, not peacefully. The whispers never stop. Even in dreams, the dark side hisses, revealing futures you must bend to your will or be consumed by. You manipulate senators, incite conflicts, orchestrate genocides, and you must do it all without blinking, without faltering. One mistake and the web collapses. Every second your mind races 3 moves ahead. Every ally is a temporary convenience. Every enemy, a future servant. Paranoia isn't a condition, it's survival. And then there's the pain. The dark side fuels you, but it also burns you. Your body begins to reflect your choices, not just the lightning that eventually disfigures you, but the tension in your soul, the way your own essence fights against the unnatural life you've carved out. Your eyes turn yellow, your skin fades, you become a corpse that commands fleets. Still you persist, you become Supreme Chancellor, through charm and manipulation, the galaxy's trusted figurehead. But behind the scenes, you're sowing chaos, war, and death. The Clone Wars, you started them. The Jedi Purge, your order. You orchestrate a 1,000-year revenge with chilling precision. And the scariest part? No one suspects a thing. You're both puppet and puppeteer, victim and god. And yet, it's lonely. The dark side does not offer brotherhood, only apprentices to betray and masters to murder. You train Maul, then abandon him. You mold Dooku, then discard him. Even Anakin, your greatest prize, is just a piece on your board. Love, connection, gone. Your only constant companion is fear. Your own fear of being replaced, overthrown, outwitted. You never get to stop, you never get to rest. Ruling an empire isn't about celebration or triumph. It's about watching shadows for knives. It's maintaining the illusion that you're all-powerful, while knowing that the Force is always balancing itself. Somewhere, out there, someone is rising to destroy you. And when they do, the dark side will abandon you, just like it always does. Being Darth Sidious isn't about having power. It's about paying its terrible price. You don't sleep, you don't trust, you don't love. You just survive, until even the Force decides you've gone too far. And that's only the beginning. Life as the Emperor, holding the galaxy in a fist of fear. You've done the impossible. You've dismantled the Republic from within. The Jedi Temple lies in ruins. The last of the Jedi, your sworn enemies, are scattered or dead. You sit on the throne, not just of Coruscant, but of an empire stretching across the stars. You are Emperor Palpatine, Darth Sidious, the dark side's supreme instrument. And yet, the moment you finally win, the game changes. You no longer move in shadows. You are the shadow. Every breath you take is sustained by sheer will and dark power. The dark side pulses through your veins, stronger than ever, but it no longer feeds you in secret. It demands more sacrifices, more domination. You are no longer manipulating pawns. You are maintaining a machine built on blood and fear. And this machine never sleeps. Bureaucrats, governors, moffs, they all answer to you, but none can be trusted. Every one of them dreams of rising. Every day, you feel their ambition pressing in like static in the Force. You must outthink, outmaneuver, outlive them all. Paranoia sharpens into instinct. You build an intelligence network, vast enough to choke the stars. ISB agents root out whispers of rebellion. Entire cities vanish overnight. Billions die not because they broke the law, but because you feared they might. Your face, hidden behind a cloak, becomes a symbol. Not of inspiration, but of dread. Citizens do not cheer you. They kneel. They avert their gaze. Even your own admirals speak your name with careful precision, as if any misstep might summon lightning from the heavens. And they're right, because you've become more than a man. You've become a god of vengeance. And gods, as you've learned, rule not through love, but through terror. But the power, it's never enough, not for you. You start seeking something greater, something unnatural. You begin constructing secret observatories across the galaxy, hidden research outposts deep within uncharted regions. You chase ancient Sith relics. You dabble in the science of cloning, in preserving consciousness beyond death. You aren't satisfied with ruling the galaxy. You want to conquer death itself, but it comes at a cost. Your body, already ravaged by years of dark side use, begins to rot. You cloak your face not out of style, but necessity. Your very presence is poison. Rooms feel colder when you enter. The air thickens with malice. Even those who worship you, like Masameda or the Grand Inquisitors, can't stay in your chamber for long without feeling their souls scraped raw. You have no friends, no confidants, only servants and Vader. Ah, Vader, your prized apprentice, your hound, your executioner. But even he is a risk. He burns with pain and regret, and despite his loyalty, you sense a flicker of light buried deep within him, a smouldering ember that refuses to die. You tell yourself you can control him, bend him, destroy him if needed. But deep down, you know, the Sith rule of two was never built on trust. So you plan for his replacement. Always. You reach for Ezra Bridger, then for Luke Skywalker. You extend cold invitations to potential heirs, each time hoping for a vessel strong enough to carry your legacy, but weak enough to bend. Because you're not planning for this life anymore, you're planning for what comes after. You create Operation Cinder, ready to burn the galaxy should you fall. You forge secret contingency plans, build a shadow empire beyond the unknown regions, even begin experimenting with transferring your essence into clones. You prepare for eternity, because you know the truth. Even gods fall, even you. And while the galaxy trembles beneath your rule, while stormtroopers march in your name and entire star systems kneel at your feet, you are never free, never safe, never at peace. Being the Emperor is not a throne. It's a coffin, built of power, fear, and isolation. And deep inside, a voice still whispers, as it did in the beginning, "Is this enough?" How a god dies alone. It happens slowly, then all at once. At first, the cracks are small, barely worth your notice. A shipment lost here, a patrol ambushed there, a whisper of a rebel cell forming in some forgotten outer rim system. You dispatch your inquisitors. You send fleets, you crush them all. But for each flame you snuff out, 3 more ignite. The galaxy you once held in your palm begins to twist, to strain against your grip. And worst of all, the Force itself begins to warn you. You sit alone in your vast, darkened chambers on Coruscant, now little more than a cold tomb filled with ancient Sith texts and endless surveillance feeds. And you feel it. A disturbance. Not just in the Force, but in your design. The galaxy no longer fears you like it once did. People are beginning to hope, and hope is dangerous. You order the construction of the Death Star, not once, but twice. Monuments to your domination, symbols to remind the galaxy that defiance means obliteration. Entire planets gone in a flash. Yet even these terror engines cannot hold back the tide. The rebellion grows stronger, not weaker. The more you clamp down, the more they slip through your fingers. But the final blow comes not from an army, or a planet, or even a fleet. It comes from the person you thought you owned, Darth Vader, your apprentice, your creation, your weapon. You sensed the flickers in him for years, the way he stared too long at hollows of his former life. The quiet moments when his rage dulled, replaced by something you despised, memory, love, regret, and now his son, Luke Skywalker. You could have killed the boy, crushed him on the Death Star the moment he stepped into your throne room, but you didn't. You wanted more. You wanted him. A new apprentice, one born of the Chosen One's blood, unburned, untarnished, powerful beyond imagining. You made a mistake. You let them talk. You let them connect. You watched, confident behind your sneer, believing no bond could be stronger than fear. But you underestimated the last piece of Anakin Skywalker, still buried inside the monster you forged. In those final moments, as your lightning tore into Luke's body, as he writhed and screamed beneath your power, you saw something in Vader's black mask, a hesitation, a tremble, and then the betrayal. He lifted you like a child. You screamed, not from pain, but disbelief, as he hurled you down the reactor shaft. Your life, your power, your empire, all collapsing with you in a blaze of Sith lightning. And then, nothing. But death is not the end, not for you. Your spirit lingers, twisted, displaced. You try to anchor yourself to clones, vessels, fragments of flesh, poor imitations of your once mighty form. You return, yes, but not whole, not truly. You are no longer a shadowy mastermind. You are a wraith, grasping, desperate, deformed. A puppet emperor ruling from a cursed planet deep within the unknown regions, worshipped by zealots, sustained by machines, clinging to life through dark rituals and science gone mad. And the galaxy, it doesn't kneel, it resists. Even now in your decayed state, you continue scheming. You build a final order. You create Snoke, your puppet proxy. You plant seeds of war, hoping once more to burn the galaxy into submission. But it is not the same. You are not the same. The fear is fading. Your legacy is cracking. The Jedi rise again. You reach for Rey, hoping to transfer your soul into a new pure vessel. But even this fails. The blood of your own blood turns against you. You are struck down, this time not by betrayal, but by choice. She doesn't fear you, she pities you. And in that moment, as the dark side unravels, you understand the truth. You never ruled the galaxy. You only delayed its healing. You are not eternal. You are not invincible. You are not even a god. You are just a man. A man whose greatest power was never lightning, or foresight, or manipulation. It was convincing the galaxy and yourself that you were something more. And now, there is only silence. You've just awoken, wrapped in darkness, your body aching yet burning with an unquenchable fire of rage and pain. You are Darth Maul, a Sith Lord trained from childhood in the deadly arts of combat, deception, and hatred. But despite your fearsome reputation, an iconic double-bladed lightsaber, surviving even a day in your skin is no simple feat. The galaxy itself seems to conspire against you. Let's explore why. First, consider your past. Scarred, hunted, betrayed. You were forged as a weapon by Darth Sidious, a creature who saw you as nothing more than a tool to crush the Jedi. Your training was brutal and merciless, shaping you into a deadly assassin with few illusions about mercy or hope. But your life was never truly your own. You were a child bred for war, and your identity was chained to violence and vengeance. This already makes lasting peace impossible, as your entire existence feeds on conflict. Your survival was threatened, time and again, not just by the Jedi, but by your own master. Sidious abandoned you after your defeat on Naboo, left for dead beneath the wreckage of a shattered starship. In the harsh world outside, you clawed your way back from death, relying on sheer will, hatred, and the fragmented remnants of your training. But your body, severely damaged, became a cage, forcing you to rely on a mechanized lower half. This loss of your natural form is a constant reminder. You are a weapon broken and rebuilt, haunted by past failure. This physical limitation isn't the only threat. Your mind is a battlefield. The darkness fuels your rage but also blinds you. Your single-minded thirst for revenge against Obi-Wan Kenobi consumed decades of your life and distracted you from greater dangers. That obsession, though it shaped your path, also made you vulnerable, prone to reckless decisions. It's a mental prison, a storm of hatred that offers no peace and slowly eats away at your very essence. Moreover, your place in the galaxy is precarious. The Sith are masters of betrayal. You know this better than anyone, having been betrayed by your own apprentice, Savage Opress, and manipulated by Sidious's greater schemes. Trust is a scarce commodity in your life, and your alliances are as fragile as thin ice. Surviving in this toxic web requires constant vigilance, cunning, and a willingness to strike before being struck. Any lapse in awareness can mean death. In the shadows of the criminal underworld, you build your power through fear and force, but that too comes with dangers. You are hunted by countless enemies: Jedi, bounty hunters, rival crime lords, all eager to claim the prize of your demise. Every moment alive is a test, every breath stolen from death's jaws. Even your fearsome reputation can't shield you forever. In the Star Wars universe, power is temporary, and survival is a relentless game of adaptation. Yet there is something more insidious than external threats. Your own legacy is a double-edged lightsaber. You're remembered as a symbol of pure Sith aggression, an icon of terror. But your story is also one of loss, pain and failure. Your attempts to rise from the ashes were marked by bloodshed and destruction, but never peace or fulfillment. The scars on your face, the cybernetic limbs, they tell the story of a life that is violently fought for but never truly won. So, why wouldn't you last a day as Darth Maul? Because your life is a relentless cycle of pain, obsession, and betrayal. Your body is a fragile machine rebuilt from ruin. Your mind is consumed by rage, blinding you to potential salvation. The galaxy is full of enemies eager to snuff out your flame, and your own legacy binds you to a path of endless conflict, where survival means embracing the darkness, but the darkness will never embrace you back. Living as Darth Maul means waking every day, knowing you are a weapon forged for destruction, but never for peace. It means standing constantly on the edge of oblivion, fighting not just external foes, but the crushing weight of your own hatred. It means understanding that, despite your power and fearsome skill, the universe is unforgiving, and no matter how strong you are, no one lasts forever in the shadows of the Sith. Living as Darth Maul isn't just about surviving the endless battles and betrayals of the Sith. It's about enduring the weight of isolation and the crushing silence of a broken identity. After years of existing in the shadows, your story is not one of triumph, but of fragmentation. The galaxy may know your face, the fierce red and black tattooed visage and the menacing horns, but it doesn't know the man beneath, or what it truly costs to wear that mask. Imagine waking each day haunted not just by enemies, but by the ghosts of your past, the echoes of betrayal ringing in your ears. Sidious once saw you as nothing more than a tool, a weapon to wield and then discard. When you were left for dead, buried beneath the molten rubble of Naboo, it was a betrayal so absolute it shattered the very foundation of your existence. Clawing your way back from the brink, you transformed into something other than human, half machine, half ghost, driven by rage, but also an aching emptiness. Your body, rebuilt with cybernetic legs, moves with lethal precision, yet each step is a reminder of what was lost. But more than the physical scars, it's the mental scars that weigh heaviest. You are a warrior, shaped by vengeance, but vengeance is a poison that corrodes the soul. Your life is a continuous storm of anger and hatred, a maelstrom with no calm center. The obsession with defeating Obi-Wan Kenobi became your life's purpose, your reason for surviving. But it was also your greatest weakness. Fixation blinded you to other threats and allies, forcing you into cycles of violence that never truly healed your wounds. This relentless pursuit of revenge left you isolated, a lone wolf cut off from any possibility of redemption or peace. And it's not just enemies outside, it's enemies within. The Sith tradition is built on betrayal. Your own apprentice, Savage Opress, proved that. Loyalties in your world are fleeting, alliances fragile, and trust is a luxury you cannot afford. Every relationship is a gamble, every partnership a knife held to your throat. Survival means anticipating betrayal before it strikes, living in constant suspicion. It means being ready to kill allies as quickly as foes. It's a brutal, exhausting existence, draining the spirit with every passing day. Yet there is a bitter irony here. Despite your unmatched combat skills and indomitable will, your survival depends not just on strength, but on your ability to navigate the complicated webs of politics, crime, and power struggles that shape the galaxy. You rule criminal syndicates, command armies, and strike fear in countless hearts, but these are fragile pillars. The galaxy shifts constantly beneath your feet, new threats rising like tides to wash away the old order. Even your reputation, a terrifying symbol of Sith wrath, can only protect you so long before it becomes a target painted on your back. On a deeper level, living as Darth Maul means carrying the weight of a shattered legacy. You are a symbol of Sith aggression and rage, but also of failure and ruin. Your story is a cautionary tale, a reminder that power built on hatred is a double-edged blade, cutting both enemies and wielder alike. Your survival is a constant battle, not only against external foes, but against the darkness inside yourself, the endless hunger that will never be sated. In the end, you wouldn't last a day as Darth Maul, because living as him means embracing a life of endless struggle with no true victory. The rage that fuels you also blinds you. The betrayals that surround you erode every connection. The body that carries you is a fragile machine, rebuilt from ruin and barely held together by willpower alone. The galaxy you inhabit is a battlefield where survival means adapting to ever-changing dangers, and the Sith way demands a ruthless heart that ultimately consumes itself. To be Darth Maul is to live on the edge of oblivion, to dance constantly with death and destruction, and to carry a soul weighed down by pain, hatred, and loss. Even with all your skill and power, the darkness you wield is not a shield, but a cage, and no one, not even a Sith Lord, can survive forever trapped inside it. Now imagine stepping into Darth Maul's shoes beyond the battles, beyond the rage, and facing the harsh reality of his endless hunt for purpose and belonging. The galaxy may see you as a terrifying Sith warrior, but inside you're a fractured soul, searching desperately for meaning in a life shaped by violence and betrayal. Your existence is a relentless cycle of survival, fueled by pain and a burning desire for revenge, yet shadowed by an aching loneliness few can comprehend. From the moment you were betrayed and left for dead on Naboo, your journey became not just about vengeance, but about reclaiming your identity. You are more than a weapon. You are a person forged from ashes, rebuilding yourself piece by piece. But every step forward is haunted by the ghosts of your past. Without the support of a master or the stability of a Sith order, you walk a precarious line between madness and purpose. Unlike other Sith who thrive under the rule of two, you've had to carve your own path through a galaxy that constantly rejects you. Your alliances are tenuous, your trust brittle. Friends become enemies overnight, and every interaction is a gamble. This isolation breeds paranoia, an ever-present tension that grips your mind and never lets go. And yet it's this very isolation that makes you deadly. With no one to answer to but your own will, you become a force of nature, unpredictable, relentless, and utterly ruthless. You don't just fight for power, you fight to survive the crushing weight of abandonment. Your cybernetic legs are more than tools of war. They are symbols of your resilience, your refusal to be broken. But even the strongest warriors have weaknesses. Your intense focus on revenge against Obi-Wan Kenobi blinds you to broader dangers. While you chase one ghost, others plot your downfall. Your obsession limits your ability to adapt and grow, trapping you in a cycle of hatred that ultimately threatens your survival. Each duel, each battle, chips away at your strength and sanity, leaving you vulnerable to enemies who see your fixation as a weakness to exploit. Beyond the battlefield, life as Darth Maul means navigating a galaxy filled with treacherous politics and shifting alliances. You command criminal syndicates and dark cults, but these are fragile empires built on fear and intimidation. Maintaining control requires constant vigilance and brutal displays of power. Your enemies lurk in the shadows, waiting for any sign of weakness to strike. Your life is a high-stakes game where one mistake can mean death. Your legacy is complicated. You are remembered as a symbol of Sith ferocity and power, but also as a tragic figure. A once great warrior, broken by betrayal and consumed by rage. You inspire fear and respect, yet also pity. Your story serves as a warning about the cost of unchecked hatred and the dangers of losing oneself in the pursuit of vengeance. Ultimately, you wouldn't last a day as Darth Maul, because surviving his life means embracing pain, loss, and isolation every moment. It's a life where strength alone isn't enough. You need an iron will, unyielding determination, and a willingness to sacrifice everything. The darkness you wield offers power, but also exacts a terrible toll. The rage that drives you fuels your survival, but threatens to destroy what little remains of your humanity. To live as Darth Maul is to live on the razor's edge, constantly battling enemies outside and demons within. It's a lonely, brutal existence where survival depends on never letting your guard down and always being ready to fight or flee. No matter your skill or power, the galaxy you inhabit offers no peace, no rest, and no true refuge. And so, you endure. Not because you are invincible, but because you are relentless. You fight not just to live, but to find a place in a galaxy that has cast you aside. But remember, no matter how strong you are, no one lasts forever in the dark world of the Sith. You awaken in the shadowed depths of your own mind, the heavy mask of Kylo Ren pressed firmly against your face, the sound of your own breathing echoing in the darkness. As you stand there, cloaked in black, you realize that being Kylo Ren isn't just about wielding a fiery crossguard lightsaber or commanding legions of loyal troops. It's about carrying the unbearable weight of legacy and conflict crushing down on every inch of your being. This isn't a simple life of power and control. It's a relentless battle with yourself, a war that never ends. First, there's the burden of heritage. You are the grandson of Darth Vader, the son of Leia Organa and Han Solo, caught between light and darkness. Your bloodline is legendary, but with greatness comes expectation, and expectations are chains. No matter how far you run into the darkness, whispers of your family's legacy haunt you. You're constantly reminded that you should be the next great Sith, the heir to an empire of fear. But inside, doubt gnaws relentlessly. You question your strength, your purpose, your very identity. That mental tug-of-war is exhausting, a ceaseless storm of emotions, tearing you apart from the inside. Now imagine trying to wield raw, chaotic power, the force surging through you like a tempest, unpredictable and wild. Unlike other Sith who mastered control, your strength is volatile. One moment, you could unleash devastating force powers with ease. The next, your emotions betray you, making your control falter, your focus shatter. Anger, frustration, and pain cloud your mind, making even the simplest tasks feel like monumental challenges. This emotional instability isn't a secret to your enemies, who see every outburst as a weakness to exploit. Your lightsaber, the jagged, unstable crossguard blade, reflects this turmoil perfectly. It's dangerous, unpredictable, and difficult to wield. While it inspires fear, it also symbolizes your internal chaos. Training with such a weapon demands precision and calm, yet your fury often makes you reckless, leaving you vulnerable in combat. Every duel risks injury or death, not just from opponents, but from your own uncontrolled power. Surviving even a day as Kylo Ren means wrestling with your emotions constantly, or paying a terrible price. Beyond personal struggles, your life is wrapped in political intrigue and betrayal. As the supreme leader of the First Order, you command legions of stormtroopers and officers, but leadership isn't just about issuing orders. It's about managing fear, loyalty, and ambition among a fractious, power-hungry faction. Your command is challenged from within and without. Advisors scheme, subordinates question your decisions, and enemies lurk waiting for a sign of weakness. Every conversation could be a trap, every alliance fragile. Your paranoia must be constant, a constant vigilance that wears down your spirit over time. And then there's your relationship with the past and present, with Rey, with your parents, with your own fractured soul. These connections are wounds and lifelines intertwined. Moments of doubt bring memories of love and hope, while moments of rage push you deeper into darkness. You find yourself trapped in a cycle of pushing others away, seeking approval and trying to prove yourself worthy, yet never feeling enough. This emotional isolation feeds your self-destructive tendencies, threatening your survival in ways no lightsaber or force power can protect you from. Survival, as Kylo Ren, means accepting that your greatest battles won't be fought on distant battlefields or in the cold vacuum of space, but within your own mind and heart. The galaxy outside may fear your power, but inside you're fragile, haunted by failures and haunted by the fear of becoming what you hate. The struggle to balance light and dark, strength and vulnerability, hatred and hope is exhausting, and many would break under the pressure. Finally, the very legacy you carry is a double-edged sword. It grants you power and prestige, but also paints a target on your back. Everyone wants to see you fail. The Resistance, rival Sith, even your own followers. Their expectations and judgments weigh heavily, and mistakes can be fatal. One wrong move could topple your entire reign and condemn you to obscurity or death. So, would you last a day as Kylo Ren? Probably not. To survive, you'd need to master your emotions, forge unbreakable alliances, and accept the darkness within without losing yourself entirely. It's a life filled with pain, conflict, and impossible choices. A life where every day is a battle against forces outside and inside you. The mask of Kylo Ren hides more than your face. It hides a storm that never ceases, a war without end. Living as Kylo Ren means constantly walking the razor's edge between overwhelming power and crushing vulnerability. The galaxy sees only the dark helmet and the fiery blade, but beneath that armor is a person torn apart by fear, ambition, and desperation. To understand why you wouldn't last a day in his shoes, you need to grasp the relentless internal conflicts that make Kylo Ren one of the most unstable and tragic figures in the Star Wars universe. Kylo Ren is driven by obsession with legacy, with surpassing Darth Vader, with proving himself the rightful heir to the Sith throne. But this obsession is a double-edged sword. It fuels his rage and grants him power, but it also blinds him. Instead of steady progress, his path is marked by impulsive decisions and reckless violence. Imagine living with that constant urge to lash out, to destroy everything that stands in your way, even if it means alienating your closest allies. This kind of volatility is exhausting, both mentally and physically. Every day you'd have to fight your own self-doubt, a shadow that looms as large as any enemy. Kylo Ren's greatest enemy is himself. Despite his outward confidence, he's haunted by insecurities and the nagging fear that he'll never live up to the expectations set by his grandfather, Darth Vader. That legacy is a mountain that crushes him, making every success feel hollow and every failure catastrophic. You'd have to live with this crushing pressure constantly, like a storm cloud overhead that never clears. On top of that, your relationship with the Force is far from harmonious. Unlike the calm mastery Jedi strive for, your Force abilities are fueled by anger, pain, and confusion. This makes your power raw but unstable. One day you might effortlessly choke an opponent across a room, the next your control slips, leaving you vulnerable in battle. The Force in your hands is unpredictable, reflecting the chaos inside your mind. Surviving means navigating this wild power without being destroyed by it, a monumental challenge few could endure. Kylo Ren's interactions with others are fraught with tension and mistrust. As Supreme Leader of the First Order, you command fear and respect, but genuine loyalty is rare. Your officers watch you warily, ready to seize power if you falter. Your subordinates obey because of intimidation, not devotion. This toxic atmosphere means you're always on guard. Every word, every move is a test. The paranoia and isolation this breeds chip away at your ability to lead effectively. It's a lonely existence, one that can fracture your mind over time. Your relationship with Rey is another source of turmoil. She represents both your greatest adversary and your deepest connection to light and hope. This complicated bond drags you back and forth between darkness and redemption. The constant push and pull drain your energy and focus, making it harder to maintain your grip on power and purpose. To survive as Kylo Ren, you'd have to find a way to reconcile these conflicting forces or risk being consumed by them. Physical survival on the battlefield is no easier. Kylo Ren faces enemies skilled in combat and strategy. Jedi, resistance fighters, rival Sith, and bounty hunters, all intent on ending his reign. His fighting style is aggressive and powerful, but often reckless, leaving openings for those who can anticipate his moves. The jagged, unstable lightsaber you wield is intimidating but difficult to control, making you vulnerable to counters. Constant danger is a given. Survival requires not just strength, but patience, discipline, and tactical thinking. Even your own past haunts you. Memories of Anakin Skywalker's fall and Vader's legacy aren't just history, they are warnings and chains. You carry the burden of a lineage stained with pain and betrayal. This history colours your decisions, sometimes driving you toward darkness and violence when other paths might be possible. Living with that kind of legacy means carrying scars no armour can protect, wounds that bleed fresh every day. In this endless cycle of power struggles, emotional conflict, and dangerous combat, survival is fragile and fleeting. Every moment presents a new threat, from enemies outside and demons within. You must balance fury with control, ambition with wisdom, and fear with strength. Without mastering these, you won't last a day as Kylo Ren. The galaxy may see you as a force to be reckoned with, but inside, you're a man fighting to hold himself together amid chaos. So, would you survive the day wearing the mask of Kylo Ren? The answer is likely no, unless you are prepared to face not just the enemies that lurk across the stars, but the storm raging endlessly within your own soul. You're still Kylo Ren, supreme leader, heir to Vader, wielder of the crossguard saber that hisses with fury. But behind all the titles, there's no rest, no peace. You walk through halls of polished steel and command fleets that span star systems, yet somehow, you're still running. Running from your past, running from your name, running from yourself. By now, you've burned bridges with both sides of the Force. You've turned your back on the Jedi who raised you, on the family that loved you, and yet you're never fully accepted by the Sith either. The darkness calls you, yes, but it doesn't embrace you. It uses you, twists you. You're not its master, you're its instrument. And if you fail to obey its currents perfectly, it will discard you without hesitation. You think you can lead the First Order with sheer power? Think again. It's a viper pit. Every officer, every high-ranking agent, smiles and salutes while silently sharpening a knife behind your back. General Hux, he'd launch you out the nearest airlock if he thought he could get away with it. You may wear the title of Supreme Leader, but you'll never be free from the fear of betrayal. Every order you give carries risk. Hesitate, and you're perceived as weak. Push too hard, and your own men start questioning your judgment. And then there's the helmet. That mask isn't just for intimidation. It's a wall between you and the world, and worse, between you and yourself. Every time you put it on, it's a choice. A rejection of your past, of your father's voice, of your mother's compassion. It's an attempt to drown Ben Solo in fire and metal, but no matter how many times you weld it back together, the cracks are still there, and you feel them. You know they're never going away. Imagine the psychological toll that takes. The constant mental war. The unbearable guilt that rises every time you see Leia's face in your dreams, or hear Han's voice, or remember Luke standing over you in the rubble of his Jedi temple. These memories aren't just inconvenient, they're radioactive. They poison your every decision, they haunt your every breath. Even when you reach the height of your power, you still feel hollow, because deep down, you know power hasn't healed you. It's only made you more lost. You've killed for the dark side, commanded fleets for it, betrayed everything you once believed in, and yet the hunger never stops. The emptiness only grows. You think you want to rule the galaxy, But what you really want is to feel whole again, and that's the one thing you can never get back. On the battlefield, things aren't much better. Sure, you can crush skulls with the Force and duel with raw aggression, but every fight chips away at your body. Scars don't fade in this life. They multiply. Injuries you thought were healed start aching under armor that no longer fits quite right. You start to feel slower, more desperate. And when you face someone like Rey again, someone who fights not out of anger, but conviction, you realize just how brittle your rage has become. Because here's the truth. Kylo Ren fights to prove something, not to others, but to himself. Every swing of the saber is him screaming into the void, I matter, I belong, I'm strong enough. But you can't fight a ghost, you can't kill the part of yourself that still remembers what it felt like to be held by your mother, or taught by your uncle, or smiled at by your father. Those memories cling like frost, and no amount of power melts them away. And so you'd find yourself standing alone, again, on a bridge, in a throne room, in the ruins of your own making, the galaxy spinning on, uncaring, while you clench your fists and scream in silence. Would you really survive a day like this? Could you live with the weight of legacy, with the betrayal, with the knowledge that no matter how far you run, you're still that frightened boy torn between stars? Most wouldn't, most couldn't, because being Kylo Ren isn't just about wearing the mask, it's about surviving behind it. And for most people, one day in that shadow is already too much. Darth Bane, the legendary Sith who created the rule of two, you awaken in darkness, not the soft, cozy kind that follows a peaceful slumber, but a void, thick with pressure, crushing, intense, alive. The air is stale, dry, and tastes faintly of dust and decay. You don't remember falling asleep, you don't even remember who you were before this moment. But now, you are Darth Bane, and your body? It's already aching. Not because you're weak, no, because every nerve is wired to power, coiled like a predator, strained under the weight of years of brutal conditioning, of war, of surviving when no one else did. You aren't stepping into a throne or a palace, not yet. You're stepping into a legacy carved from betrayal, blood, and sheer, merciless logic. You rise from the cold stone floor of a Sith temple, Korriban, maybe, or some forsaken world soaked in dark energy. The Force here is thick and unnatural. It doesn't speak to you. It challenges you. It dares you to tame it or die trying. And here's the first problem. Your body isn't normal anymore. Not since the obelisks latched onto your skin like armor. Living, parasitic creatures that dig into your flesh, fusing with your nervous system. They protect you, sure, make you nearly invincible to blasters or lightsabers, but the pain never goes away. It's constant. A throb behind your eyes, a scream in your bones, a reminder that power has a cost, and you're paying it second by second. You stagger to your feet. The armor moves with you, not like plates of metal, but like it's part of your flesh, because it is. Every breath feels like sandpaper scraping your lungs, and you haven't even left the temple yet. You exit into the red twilight. Across the rocky landscape, you sense acolytes watching you from the shadows. They're all afraid. Some admire you. A few, bold enough, want to test you. That's the way of the Sith now. The way you've reforged it. Because here's where your day gets worse. You've just destroyed the Brotherhood of Darkness. You've shattered centuries of tradition. You're the last true Sith Lord, and you alone carry the future. You invented the rule of two, one master, one apprentice. No alliances, no armies, no pity. And now you have to find someone worthy. You trek through ancient ruins to a hidden stronghold where your secret holocron studies begin. Ancient knowledge, forgotten rituals, buried secrets. You train with ghosts, Darth Revan, Freeden Nad, even the madness of Darth Nihilus echoes in the texts. Each voice pulls at your mind, but you have to stay focused. If you slip even once, they'll consume you. These aren't mentors, they're monsters made of memory, and they hate weakness. You eat little, you sleep less. You're not just learning Sith teachings, you're rewriting them. You argue with voices that aren't real. You practice Force lightning until your hands are blistered. You meditate until your mind bleeds. The power grows, like a flame you can barely control. Then, a tremor, a presence, a child, Zana. You found your apprentice, or maybe she's found you. She's small, quiet, but burning with raw talent, and you know immediately, this one could kill you someday. That's the point. That's the rule of two. You begin training her with the same cruelty you once endured. No coddling, no praise. You push her to the edge, again and again, knowing that only through suffering will she grow strong enough to one day strike you down. But here's the twist. You feel pride. That's dangerous. Pride leads to attachment. Attachment leads to hesitation. And hesitation? That'll get you killed. The days blur together. Every moment is a battle. With the Force, with your apprentice, with yourself. The weight of the Sith Order's future is on your back, and you carry it like a warhammer, dragging behind you the corpses of 1,000 failed ideologies. And still, the obelisks whisper their agony through your blood. So, could you survive as Darth Bane? Maybe, but to do it, you'd have to tear away everything that makes you human. Love, comfort, even your own body. You'd have to live in pain, rule through fear, and trust that the apprentice you train to one day murder you actually will. And if she doesn't, you've failed. Worse, the Sith have failed, and there are no second chances in the dark. You've survived the early days, the pain, the obelisks, the whispers of long-dead Sith whose ghosts would sooner drive you mad than guide you. You've claimed the mantle of the Dark Lord, remade the Sith in your own brutal image, and taken Zana as your apprentice. But now the real weight begins, because being Bane isn't about surviving once. It's about surviving every day after, under constant threat, from enemies seen and unseen, and most dangerously of all, from the apprentice you raised to be your equal and your executioner. Let's talk about Zana. She's not a child anymore. You've trained her for years, molded her in the furnace of conflict, taught her the power of deception, of fear, of manipulating minds with the flick of a finger and the whisper of a lie. She doesn't rage like you. She doesn't crush with brute strength. Zana is subtle, surgical, a master of Sith sorcery, and she's getting stronger, too strong. Every day you wake up, you wonder, is this the day she'll try? You don't sleep deeply anymore. How could you? She knows every weakness you've ever shown her, every hesitation you've ever had. She's your mirror, sharpened like a blade, and in your heart you feel it, not fear, not quite, but anticipation, because this is the endgame you designed. Still, you're not done yet. Your body continues to deteriorate under the burden of the obelisks. They're strong, yes, nearly invincible, but they're poisoning you, slowly, surely. Their metabolism is destroying your organs. You feel it every morning. That hollow ache in your gut, that pressure in your skull, that rising suspicion that your body is no longer entirely yours. The armor protects you, but it owns you. And Zana sees it. She's watching you weaken. So, you begin searching, not for relief, but for immortality. You dive deeper into the ancient tomes of Sith lore. You seek forbidden rituals, hidden holocrons, anything that might grant you the power to cheat death. Essence transfer, the ability to move your consciousness into another body. That's your final gambit, because you're not going to die by her hand, not if you can help it. You travel to Lehon, to the Valley of the Dark Lords, to world after world soaked in shadows and secrets. You meditate in tombs, argue with spirits, endure hallucinations that feel more real than the world around you. You're walking the edge of madness, and some days you fall in completely, but you always pull yourself back, because you're Darth Bane, and Darth Bane does not beg for life. He takes it. Eventually, you find what you're looking for, a forbidden technique, created by long-dead Sith who vanished into myth. It's dangerous, unstable. You'll only get one chance to use it, but it could be your salvation, or your doom. And then one evening, quiet, still, filled with that eerie calm before a storm, Zana steps forward. It's time. She's not asking, she's not warning you, she's challenging you. Just as you always taught her, just as you always feared and hoped. The duel is inevitable. No armies, no tricks, just the two of you. Master and apprentice, blade and sorcery, rage and cold calculation. You ignite your lightsaber. It hums with raw hatred. The Force roils around you both, thick with destiny and blood. This fight, it's not about winning, it's about legacy. Because if she's strong enough to kill you, then she deserves to carry the Sith forward. But if she fails, if she hesitates, if she flinches, if she's not prepared to end you, then you survive. And the cycle continues. But make no mistake, there's no walking away from this. You charge, blades clash, lightning arcs. The stone beneath you cracks and splits. You can feel her hatred, her precision, her ambition. You taught her everything, and now you're facing the consequences. And that's the final truth of being Darth Bane. You don't just live in pain. You don't just rule through strength. You don't just survive betrayal. You require it. You nurture it. Because in the end, the greatest threat to your power is the one you chose to create. The room is cracked with lightning. You smell smoke, burnt stone, blood, your blood. You've been fighting Zana for what feels like an eternity, lightsabers clashing, force energy detonating like bombs around you. Every time you strike, she evades. Every time she attacks, it's with a precision that reminds you of who taught her. You. But this isn't just a duel. It's your legacy being tested in real time. You thought you'd be ready for this moment, that when the day came, when your apprentice challenged you for the mantle of Dark Lord of the Sith, you'd crush her with the full might of your knowledge, your experience, your power. But you underestimated her, and maybe overestimated yourself. Your muscles are failing. The obelisks have kept you strong for years, yes, but at a cost. Their toxins, your age, your rage, all catching up with you. Every movement feels slower, every breath heavier, but your mind, your will, refuses to break. You're not going to give in. You're not going to let it end here, because you have a plan. Your body may not last, but your mind, your essence? You've mastered the ritual of essence transfer, the ancient Sith technique that lets you move your consciousness into another body, hijack it, dominate it, make it yours. It's your ace in the hole, a way to cheat death itself. And now, with Zana so close, so focused, so vulnerable, you begin the ritual. Everything goes quiet. The battle freezes. In the space between seconds, you push your consciousness forward, like a dagger aimed at her soul. You strike, not with a blade, but with your will. The force itself bends around your effort. You feel her essence, her spirit, like a wall of ice, and you drive into it with the fury of a collapsing star. But it's not like the texts described. She doesn't scream. She doesn't falter. She doesn't collapse beneath you. She resists. Zana, your apprentice, your student, your creation. She holds her ground. Her mind is a fortress, her will unbreakable. And then, she pushes back. You feel it first as pressure, then pain. And finally, something worse, rejection. She's not just defending herself. She's winning. Your presence is peeled away, piece by piece, until you're forced back into your own body. You crash into yourself like a falling star, broken and shaken. For the first time in years, you're afraid. And then it happens. Zana steps forward, her hand raised, and you know it's over. You try to rise, you try to summon your strength, your fury, anything. But there's nothing left, not truly. The Sith rule of two always ends this way. You thought you'd be the exception. You weren't. The darkness collapses, you fall. And yet, there's a whisper, a shadow. Deep inside her, beneath the calm, beneath the triumph, something flickers. You don't know if it's you, or just a fragment, a scar, but it's there. Maybe that's enough. Because even in death, you've won. You created her, trained her, molded her, and now she carries your legacy. A legacy of discipline, strength, ambition. Of the rule of two. One master, one apprentice. No weakness. You don't survive the day, but you never planned to. Because that's what it means to be Darth Bane. You weren't trying to live forever. You were trying to build something that would. You wake up to silence, not the quiet of peace, but the silence of control. A world sealed shut from distractions. The hum of life support systems is the only sound you hear, subtle and ever-present. The air around you is filtered, precise. Every breath you take is measured. The room is dim, as always. A chamber without windows. Outside, there is no sun, no sky, just the endless orbit of Scipio's cold moon and the frigid black of space. You are Darth Plagueis, and today you must not die. That's not a poetic metaphor. It's an absolute rule. Because in your existence, death is not merely a fear. It's a puzzle, a flaw in the great machine. One you have devoted your unnatural life to solving. You rise slowly from the medical pod where you sleep. Not because you're injured, but because you refuse to surrender your body to the chaos of decay. You're not like the other Sith. You don't crave power for glory. You are power distilled into precision. Every heartbeat, every thought, Every calculation is part of your experiment, the grand equation of immortality. But here's the truth. You wouldn't last a day in this mind, because this existence isn't dramatic, it's suffocating. The isolation, the expectations, the pressure of knowing that one mistake, one miscalculation, and everything, your body, your legacy, your control, collapses into ruin. You don't trust anyone, not even the droids that maintain your fortress. They've been reprogrammed 1,000 times. Every visitor, even those sworn to you, are scanned for toxins and weapons down to the molecular level. You know the Sith have always died not by armies, but by betrayal, and so you live with one eye open, always. Your first task today isn't meditation, it's experimentation. You step into the lab, a sterile chamber of horror beneath your palace on Moonilinst. There, tanks glow with failed clones. Lifeless bodies float, pale and bloated, Force experiments gone wrong, some too strong to control, others empty vessels waiting for a soul. You walk past them unmoved because you have a theory that the Force itself is an energy grid, and with enough discipline, it can be bent, shaped, frozen. Life doesn't have to end. Death is not a rule, it's a habit, one that can be broken. You know the Jedi would never understand, that's why they die. You move to your workstation, data flowing in complex moon scripts, genetic sequences, midi-chlorian reactions. You've learned how to influence them, how to whisper into the cellular core of life itself. But not perfectly. Not yet, and time is always running out. Your apprentice? Yes, him, the boy. You feel his presence, faint and curious. You've kept him distant, shielded, paranoid, the way a true Sith Master should. But he's learning too fast. You see it in his eyes. He's brilliant, ambitious, and worst of all, subtle. You remember how he spoke last night. "You fear death too much, Master," he said. And you smiled, but inside, you knew. You saw the seed. He will kill you eventually, unless you finish your work first. Here's where the second challenge comes in. Being Darth Plagueis is like living every second knowing your death has already been scheduled, just not yet confirmed. Your heart beats under a daily layer of anxiety, masked by supreme arrogance. You've survived assassins, Jedi, civil war, banking collapses, but your real enemy is always near. Your own apprentice, your own ego. Your mind, once cold and clear, has started to drift. You see things, hear whispers. Perhaps the Force is speaking to you, or perhaps your mind, strained by too many years without rest, is fracturing. The immortality you've chased for so long has already begun to rot you. Later that night, you try again. Another clone, another subject. You push into the Force, deeper than ever before. The world around you fades. You see the great river of life. You feel its current. You reach out, almost touch it, and then pain, searing, white-hot pain. You collapse to your knees, gasping. The Force retaliates. It does not want to be tamed. You realize something terrible. It is aware. It has eyes, and it is watching you. You crawl back to your chamber, not because you're weak, but because even gods must rest. Tomorrow, you'll try again. But tonight, you lie still. You stare at the ceiling, eyes wide open, breathing steady, unblinking. Somewhere out there, he is watching you, your apprentice, Darth Sidious. You feel his presence like a needle in the dark. You taught him everything, including how to lie, and you know, one day soon he will come for you. That more than death itself is the curse of Darth Plagueis. You don't sleep, you calculate, and that's why you wouldn't last a day. The next day begins before the last one ends. You haven't slept, you rarely do. Sleep is for those who have accepted their mortality. But you are still resisting, still fighting. And in that resistance, your mind grows thinner. More precise, yes, but also brittle. There's a cost to this kind of obsession, and you feel it as a distant pressure behind your eyes, a trembling in your limbs, like your body knows what your will refuses to admit. But there's no time to reflect, because today, you are testing something new. In the depths of your fortress, a subterranean vault, lined with obsidian, cortosis, and songsteel, you prepare the subject, a moon, or what's left of one. His body, barely recognizable, has been transformed, bones replaced, neural pathways rewritten. You've laced his cells with manipulated midi-chlorians harvested from countless donors. Jedi, Sith, even animals from the far edge of wild space. Your goal is no longer to extend life. It's to cheat its very purpose. You want to conquer the mystery, force the Force to obey. You channel the dark side with the surgeon's focus. You lower your hands over the subject. The room grows cold, not metaphorically. The air itself seems to thicken, molecules freezing as power warps the very environment. Your eyes burn golden. Lightning crackles at your fingertips, but not the uncontrolled rage of a lesser Sith. This is different. This is pure application. Clinical. Horrific. The body spasms, twitching. You begin to speak, not aloud fu, but through the Force. Ancient moon incantations twisted into Sith harmonics. The words don't sound like language. They sound like a wound in the air. And then, the subject opens its eyes. For a moment you feel it. Consciousness. You've done it. You've pulled him back. But then he screams, not a scream of pain, a scream of confusion, terror, existence without understanding. He thrashes, foams at the mouth, blood vessels bursting beneath his skin. His cells reject the unnatural balance you've imposed. The Force, unwilling to be caged, surges back through him like a flood. You watch, unblinking. This was expected. He dies. You make a note. You don't grieve. You don't feel guilt. This is research. This is how the greatest minds work. On the edge of morality, on the cliff of cosmic possibility. But still, deep down, something stirs. You've failed, again. And there are fewer tomorrows left to try. Because there's another pressure building, one outside the lab, political, strategic. Your apprentice is maneuvering again. You've heard whispers of his meetings on Coruscant, the Naboo Senator, the Trade Federation. You've trained him too well. He moves in the shadows like you once did. He hides behind smiles and bureaucracy. You recognize the signs because you invented them. And here's the irony. You've always known the Sith must be reborn. You've taught it, preached it. One must die for another to rise. But you never imagined it would be you. Not yet. You initiate a new protocol. One of your private moons, long dormant, begins reactivation. If it comes to it, if your apprentice dares move against you, you will unleash something unholy, a contingency, a last resort that even he doesn't suspect. You are still the master. And yet, that night, alone in your chamber, something cracks, not visibly, not dramatically, but inside, like a splinter in your mind. You feel it. You question something you never allowed yourself to question. What if the Force isn't meant to be controlled? What if your very mission, to dominate the cycle of life and death, is the heresy? The Jedi were wrong, yes, but maybe you are too. You crush the thought, snuff it out like a flame under a boot, but you can't forget it. And that's the part of being Darth Plagueis you'd never survive. The quiet. Not the violence, not the betrayals, not the darkness. It's the silence. The endless silence in your own head, where every answer you discover only leads to a deeper, more agonizing question. And yet, you go on. You return to the lab, you try again, because that is the burden of your existence. You can't stop. You've made yourself into a machine, a living algorithm of Force manipulation. You're not allowed to break down. You've outlived expectations, survived assassins, but in that success, you've become trapped. You aren't chasing immortality anymore. You're running from death, and it's gaining on you. You feel it in the subtle misfires of your body, in the way your breath catches sometimes, in the way your mind, once flawless, now drifts at the edges. You speak to yourself more often than you used to. You question your data twice instead of once. You hide this from your apprentice, from your droids, from the Force. But the Force knows. It always knows. And still you rise. You return to the lab. You adjust the formula. You refine the next trial. Because if you stop, you die. And for you, death isn't the end. It's failure. And you were never meant to fail. The final day doesn't start like any other, because it doesn't start at all. You awaken, not from sleep, but from blackout. You're on the floor of your private sanctum, a sterile white marble slick with blood from your own nose. A failure, an anomaly. You should not be unconscious, not ever. You designed your body to resist it, trained your mind to override all collapse. But something's wrong. Your breathing is erratic. The Force is distant, not gone, but hesitant, like it's watching you. Like it's weighing you on a scale you didn't know existed. You stumble to your feet. Your hands tremble, not from fear, from degradation. You've known this was coming. For months now, your body has sent signals, hints, errors in your system. You called it adjustment. You told yourself it was just strain from your work, your rituals. You lied. Even now you try to fix it. You call the droids, inject yourself with a sequence of biologics, hormones, and restructured midi-chlorian extracts. You meditate, you focus, you scream into the void with your mind, and still the cold remains. Not the chill of weather, not even the chill of death. This is colder. This is legacy slipping through your fingers. You rush to your holoterminal. The vaults of knowledge, the genetic databanks, the ritual archives. You access them all, looking for something you missed. Some variable, some forgotten edge. You even consider reaching out to ancient Sith spirits, Darth Nihilus, Darth Andedu, but you resist. You are above them. They are echoes. You are real. Weren't you? A chime breaks your spiral. A soft alert. A visitor. Your apprentice. Darth Sidious. He enters with a bow, masked in loyalty. You recognize the way he hides his excitement, the same way you did once, with your own master. He speaks with concern. He tells you the Senate is moving forward, that the Republic is decaying faster than predicted, that your plan is working. But it's all camouflage. You see through it. You always have. And yet you say nothing. You sit, you nod, you sip your wine. The irony strikes you. A moment of forced civility between two beings who are pretending not to be at war. You talk of the future. You talk of the chosen one. You talk of manipulation, war, the fall of the Jedi. But behind every word, there is only one question. When? He stands to leave. You let him. And you realize, in that moment, that this is your choice. You're letting him do this. You could crush him now. Unleash every ounce of your remaining power. Your fortress is built with fail-safes, your knowledge unmatched. But you don't. Because something deeper has broken. You're tired. Not in your bones, not in your blood, but in your purpose. You were supposed to be the Sith who ended death. Who mastered the Force not just as a weapon, but as a structure. You dreamed of balance through domination, of peace through control. But now, with all the pieces on the board, with the grand strategy playing out exactly as you planned, you are absent from your own triumph. And maybe that was always inevitable. Because the Sith do not share glory. The rule of two was never a philosophy. It was a countdown. So you pour another drink, something rich, bitter. You stare into it like it holds answers. You feel your body relaxing, not because it's safe, but because it's surrendering. Your eyes begin to close, but not fully. You hear the sound, not a lightsaber, not a scream, just a subtle shift in the Force, a betrayal. It's not dramatic, he doesn't say anything. He doesn't need to, because he is you. Just younger, just newer, just next. You fall, not because you were weak, but because the story always ends this way. You collapse in silence, no guards, no fanfare, no war, just the end of a mind that once believed it could rewrite reality. And in those final seconds, as the blood leaves your body and your consciousness begins to slip, you don't feel anger. You feel relief because the burden is over. And now, it's someone else's turn to try and defy the Force. You awaken in the grand estate on Sereno, beneath the towering marble arches of your ancestral home. The dawn light spills over the mountain peaks, filtering through stained glass depictions of ancient battles won by your lineage. But this is not a morning for leisure or luxury. You are Count Dooku, once a Jedi Master, now Darth Tyrannus, a Sith Lord cloaked in nobility and secrecy. From the moment you rise, the burden of dual identities rests on your shoulders. You're a separatist leader by day, shaking hands with warlords, senators, and droids alike. But beneath the surface lies the darker truth. Every alliance you forge is laced with lies. Every word you speak is carefully calculated to further the goals of your true master, Darth Sidious. And deep down, you know, he may one day discard you, just as he did others. You step into your war room, holograms flicker to life, entire star systems, planets in rebellion, fleets waiting for your orders. You issue commands not with fury, but with the cold, deliberate precision of a man who sees the board several moves ahead. 1,000 lives will be lost because of your strategy before the sun sets. And yet, It weighs on you less with each passing day. Later, you find yourself standing alone aboard your solar sailor, staring into the void. The stars remind you of the Jedi Temple. Once you walked its halls in peace, your saber at your hip, your ideals still intact. But that was long ago. Disillusionment twisted your heart. The corruption of the Republic, the arrogance of the Jedi Council, it all pushed you away, and so you turned to the dark side, not with rage, but with reason. That is what makes your path even more terrifying. You chose it. You believed it. But choice doesn't free you from fear. Every day, you walk a tightrope. The Jedi hunt you relentlessly. The Republic wants your head. Even within your own confederacy, your droid generals would gladly betray you for a firmware upgrade. And looming above it all, Sidious pulls the strings, watching, waiting. You've taught him everything you know, and you suspect he's already found your replacement. Now you descend onto a battle-ravaged world. Your cape billows behind you, and your curved lightsaber hilt gleams in the crimson sunlight. A Jedi Knight confronts you, young, brave, foolish. You ignite your blade, not out of hatred, but inevitability. The duel is swift, elegant, a dance of discipline. In the end, your saber hums through the air with a final, fatal arc. Another Jedi falls, another echo of your old life silenced. But something gnaws at your conscience. Despite your power, your wealth, your control, there is no peace, no true safety. You're a master of political chess, a warrior without equal. Yet every corner of your life is a trap. Every victory pushes you further into isolation. There are no allies, only pawns. And the one who taught you the rules of this game? He's already moving the pieces against you. As night falls, you stand alone in a fortress of your own making. You gaze out into the stars once more, and for a fleeting second, you wonder what it would have been like if you had stayed with the Jedi, if you had walked away before the shadows closed in. But it's too late. The dark side has taken root, and tomorrow you'll kill again. Your name echoes in fear throughout the galaxy, Count Dooku, Darth Tyrannus. The fallen Jedi, the man who turned his back on the Republic, on the Order, and became the voice of the Separatists, the architect of galactic war. But behind the title lies a life few could endure. Today begins with a message. You're aboard your sleek solar sailor, drifting quietly in the void of space. The message is encoded, untraceable. Its sender, Sidious, always Sidious. His commands are never optional, only disguised as choices. This time, it's about Naboo, again. Political tension is brewing, and he wants you to fan the flames. Delicately, not with lightsabers, but with manipulation, blackmail, and targeted leaks. You give the order. Your agents, spread across systems, react like clockwork. But every message you send is another web of lies added to the tangled spiral you've created. The Confederacy of independent systems isn't a clean revolution. It's a beast built on shifting allegiances, corporate greed, and desperate systems hoping for something better. You don't lead it with inspiration. You control it like a puppeteer, pulling strings, isolating threats, silencing doubt. This isn't the Jedi way. It never was. But you are long past that. Hours later, you arrive on Sereno, your homeworld. Noble blood runs in your veins. You were born into luxury, trained among the best, and yet you carry more burdens than anyone in your ancestral halls could imagine. You attend a meeting with representatives of the banking clan. You speak softly, yet firmly. You manipulate interest rates, weaponize debts, and promise security in exchange for more ships, more battle droids, more loyalty. None of these men trust you. They fear you. But in politics, fear is more useful than friendship. When you walk through your manor, memories haunt the hallways. Portraits of your ancestors stare down at you, their painted eyes filled with judgment. They would never understand what you've become. Perhaps no one does. Even among the Sith, you're different. You didn't fall because of passion or desperation. You chose the dark side like a man chooses a blade, coldly, deliberately. Later that day, a call comes in. A separatist world, an outer rim mining colony, is rebelling against your leadership. They claim corruption among your appointed governors. You knew this would happen. The governors were corrupt, but they served the greater purpose, control. Now, you must extinguish the fire. You dispatch General Grievous. You don't flinch. not at the thought of the massacre, not at the knowledge that innocent civilians will die. This is war. And war doesn't allow softness, but even as you justify your actions, part of you whispers the question you try to silence. Are you better than the Jedi you abandoned, or just more honest about your darkness? Night falls. You meditate in your private chamber, surrounded by dim candlelight. The Force swirls around you, still familiar, still powerful, but its light no longer warms you. You reach only into the cold shadows now. You see the future. Sidious on a throne, the Republic in ashes, and yourself at his side, or beneath his heel. You know Sidious is using you. You've always known. You were never meant to be his equal. You were a stepping stone, a tool, but you told yourself you could outplay him, that you were smarter, more refined, more controlled, the kind of Sith who could wield the darkness without being consumed by it. But the cracks are showing, the dreams are getting worse. You see Qui-Gon, your greatest student. You see his death replay again and again. You wonder, if you had never left, would he have survived? Would he have followed you into this new order? Or would he have become your enemy? You try not to think about Yoda, but sometimes, in the stillness, you remember his voice, his wisdom, his disappointment. A knock breaks your meditation. Your attendant enters and informs you that your next meeting has arrived. Envoys from the Techno Union. More negotiations, more political theatre. Another day of power traded for peace of mind. And you, Count Dooku, the man who once stood tall among the Jedi, now reduced to a weary diplomat with blood-stained hands and an uncertain future. Because here's the truth. It's not just the Jedi or the Republic that would kill you if they could. It's the very people you lead. The bounty hunters you employ. The generals you command. Even your master. You are surrounded by blades, smiling faces hiding sharpened knives. And one day, one of those knives will find your back. The galaxy sees you as a villain, a traitor, a mastermind. But inside, you are a man standing on a crumbling ledge, the wind howling, the dark below calling your name. And you know you're running out of time. The orders come in without warning. This time, it's not a message. It's not a whisper through encrypted channels. It's Sidious himself, his voice slicing through the air like a blade. Cold, unrelenting, he gives you coordinates, not reasons. He tells you to meet him on Coruscant, personally. You pause. You know what this means. You always knew the day would come. But the finality of it, it's different when you're living it. Your ship glides silently toward the heart of the Republic. A world you once served with loyalty, with idealism. A world that once praised your leadership as Jedi Master Dooku. But you aren't that man anymore. You haven't been for years. You don't land in public hangars. You come cloaked in shadow, escorted by droids, unseen by civilian eyes. Grievous walks beside you, his mechanical gait echoing through the corridors. He's grown restless lately, impatient. You sense his frustration, his need to break something, to prove himself. He is your weapon, but you wonder how long he'll remain loyal once the blade is bloodied enough. The plan is simple. You're to kidnap Chancellor Palpatine, the very man who is Sidious, and spark the final act of the war you helped create. The irony? You've orchestrated every piece of this game, but you're not the one who gets to decide when it ends. You've always been a master of control, but this feels like walking into a trap of your own making. When the time comes, you face them. Jedi, Skywalker, Kenobi. You pretend to be surprised. You draw your saber. You clash blades in a dance you've performed countless times, each move precise, each strike calculated. You disarm Kenobi easily. The boy, Skywalker, is next, and then it happens. He overwhelms you. There's a fury in him you didn't predict, raw, untamed. You see it in his eyes, that same spark you once saw in Qui-Gon. But this isn't the same. This is something darker, something dangerous. You're on your knees, your lightsabers are gone. Skywalker is holding both blades, yours and his, crossed at your throat. You glance up, you don't plead, you don't beg. You've faced death before, but not like this. Not at the hands of the future. Then you hear Sidious. Do it. That's when you understand. There's no last-minute escape, no secret plan, no Sith redemption. Sidious was never going to share his empire. You were never going to be the future. You were a means to an end. You close your eyes, the blades come down, and just like that, it's over. But what if you had survived that day? What if Anakin had chosen mercy? then the suffering would have only continued. You'd be dragged away in chains, tried as a war criminal, sentenced to rot in some Republic prison. You'd become a cautionary tale, the Jedi who fell too far. Or worse, you'd escape, forced to run for the rest of your life, alone, hunted. No purpose, no plan, no allies. Just the ghosts of the war you started. Because even if you lived, you'd never escape what you've done. You abandoned the Jedi, not for power, but because you saw their flaws. And you believed you could do better. But in trying to fix a broken galaxy, you broke yourself. You turned noble ideals into weapons and peace into strategy. The tragedy of being Dooku isn't just the death at the hands of a rising Sith. It's that you were right. The Republic was corrupt, the Jedi were blind, the war was inevitable. But you couldn't save it. You weren't strong enough, you weren't cruel enough, you weren't Sith enough. You walk a tightrope between light and dark, but the galaxy has no use for balance. Only absolutes, only victors and corpses. And Count Dooku, you ended up both. You wake up in a Jedi temple dormitory, bathed in Coruscant's orange glow. There's a faint hum of speeders outside, and inside, the silence is heavy. You're only 19, but you've already fought in wars, led battalions, and defied your masters. You are Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one. And from the second you open your eyes, you realize, this day, like every day, is not yours to control. You swing your legs off the sleeping mat, and your feet hit cold, polished floors. Before you can stretch, your comm buzzes, another briefing, another mission. You're exhausted, but you won't complain. The Council sees your potential. They also doubt your judgment. You can feel it. Your first thoughts of the day? Padme. You try to shake the memory of her from your dreams you're not supposed to have. Love is forbidden. Attachment is dangerous. Yet she lives in your heart like a sun that never sets. You lie every day to everyone who trusts you. It eats at you, but you won't stop. You put on your robes and meet Obi-Wan in the hangar. He's your master, your brother, your closest friend. But every step you take beside him, you feel the weight of comparison. He plays by the rules. You bend them until they snap. The Council listens to him. They question you. Your clone troopers salute you as you board the transport ship. They're loyal. They'd follow you anywhere. You've saved their lives 100 times. They call you General Skywalker now. But deep down, you're still that angry boy from Tatooine, afraid, stubborn, desperate to prove yourself. You still hear your mother screaming in your sleep. The mission is chaos before it starts. You're sent to a remote outer rim world to liberate a city from separatist control. You land in the middle of a crossfire, and instead of waiting for backup, like the plan says, you charge in. Lightsaber lit, soldiers at your back, fear and rage guiding your instincts. You move like lightning through the enemy lines. Droids fall in sparks and smoke, but one of your troopers takes a blaster bolt to the neck. You scream. You weren't fast enough. You never are. You cradle the clone's dying body in your arms, feel his fingers twitch, and once again, you realize that power doesn't equal control. It never has. The battle ends. You won. But the cost is always high. Your superiors send congratulations, but Obi-Wan looks at you with that calm disappointment. He tells you emotions cloud your judgment. You nod, but inside you're boiling. You saved lives. You stopped the enemy. Isn't that what matters? Back on Coruscant, you're summoned to the Council. They sit in a circle, robes folded, expressions blank. You stand in the center like a child on trial. They praise your skill in leadership, but deny you the rank of master. Again, you're the chosen one, but never good enough. You clench your fists under your sleeves and keep your mouth shut. Barely. They talk about trust, but none of them know what you've done. None of them know about Padme. None of them know the dreams you've had. Visions of her death, childbirth, twisted into tragedy. You've seen it. You felt it. You can't let it happen. Not again. Not like your mother. That night you stare out over the city. You should meditate, but your thoughts are a storm. You feel more like a prisoner than a Jedi. You whisper her name. Somewhere across the city, Padme sits in her apartment, her hand on her stomach, waiting for you. And you can't go, not without lying, not without risking everything. You hear footsteps, Obi-Wan again. He wants to talk. He sees the cracks forming. He knows something's wrong. You lie to him too, just like you lie to everyone. It's easier that way. Before you sleep, your dreams return. Dark corridors, screaming voices, a metal mask, her hand slipping away. You wake up in a sweat, and it hits you all over again. Being Anakin Skywalker isn't about power or glory. It's about pressure, fear, guilt, expectation. You're called the Chosen One, but no one ever asked what that really means. They only told you what you should be, and every day you try to live up to it, you're dying inside. You're walking through the Jedi Temple halls, and for the first time, you feel like a stranger in your own home. You pass by younglings, training with their instructors. They look up to you, they call you hero, but they don't know the truth. You've already started slipping. The line between what's right and what's necessary is blurring faster with each passing day. You attend a briefing with Master Windu. His tone is sharp, controlled. He questions your loyalty, not to the Jedi, but to Chancellor Palpatine. You defend the Chancellor, of course. He's always seen you as more than just a Jedi. He treats you like a person, not a cog in some ancient machine. When the Council cast you aside, Palpatine offered you a seat by his side, and you said yes. Because Palpatine listens, because he understands, because he promised he could teach you how to save her. You walk out of the Council chamber with 1,000 weights pressing on your chest. They've asked you to spy on the Chancellor now, your friend, your mentor, the man who's trusted you more than any Jedi ever has. They tell you it's for the good of the Republic, but it feels like betrayal. You try to keep it together. You try to breathe through the storm, but the dreams are getting worse. Padme, pale and dying in childbirth. You holding her body, helpless. You scream in your sleep, waking in a cold sweat in the dead of night. You want to tell her. You want to beg her to run, but you know she won't. She believes in you. She believes you'll find a way, so you lie again. You hold her in the dark and whisper that everything will be fine. You spend your days fighting in the war and your nights drowning in paranoia. The Jedi say emotions are dangerous, but how could they ever know what it's like to carry this kind of love, this kind of fear? You saved a galaxy, and no one trusts you. You killed for peace, and they call you reckless. Then comes the moment you weren't prepared for. Palpatine finally tells you the truth. He is the Sith Lord. He's been hiding in plain sight all this time, and instead of drawing your saber, your mind hesitates. Not out of fear, not out of confusion, but because he's the only one who might be able to save her. He speaks of Darth Plagueis, of dark powers forbidden by the Jedi, powers that can prevent death. You've never needed the dark side, until now. You report him, you tell Mace Windu, you try to do the right thing, but you can't stop shaking. You wait in the council chambers, staring at the floor as Master Windu and others confront him. You pace, you panic. You think of Padme, you think of the baby, you think of that scream, that breathless final gasp in your dreams, and suddenly you're running. Your thoughts aren't your own, you're already choosing. You burst into the Chancellor's office, just in time to see Windu's saber raised, ready to strike. Palpatine is weak, defenseless, pleading. Windu shouts that he's too dangerous to be left alive, and in a heartbeat you make your choice. You cut down Mace Windu. The Jedi Master is flung into the night, screaming as lightning rips through the glass and the skyline beyond. You collapse. The silence that follows is unbearable. You're panting, drenched in sweat, kneeling beside the man you just betrayed everything to protect. And when he speaks, it's with cold triumph. You are now Darth Vader. You don't feel powerful. You don't feel victorious. You feel hollow, but you nod. Because if this is the only way to save her, you'll do anything, even destroy everything you once stood for, even betray the order you swore to protect, even lose yourself. You return to the temple in darkness. The children greet you. Some even smile. They never see the blade ignite. You awaken, gasping for air that burns your lungs like fire. The galaxy around you is chaos incarnate. The Jedi Temple, reduced to smouldering ruins, echoes of destruction still ringing in your ears. The night sky is stained with ash and glowing embers, a cruel mirror to the burning rage consuming your heart. The faces of your former brothers and sisters flicker in your mind, twisted in betrayal and shock, and you know in your core that you are the cause. You don't feel victorious. You don't feel like a hero. You feel like a ghost, a shadow of the boy who once dreamed of bringing balance. Your body is broken and battered, your muscles screaming with every movement. You look down at your hands, trembling hands that once wielded lightsabers to defend the innocent, to heal, to protect. Now, those same hands have betrayed everything you believed in. You feel the weight of betrayal heavy upon your chest, a crushing burden that no armor can block. The war you fought in, the battles you won, the victories celebrated, they all seem distant and hollow now. They mean nothing in the face of what you have done. Padme is gone. Your desperate attempts to save her ended in failure. The vision that haunted your dreams became your reality. You failed the one person you loved most. You are no longer Anakin Skywalker, the chosen one. You are Darth Vader, a name whispered in fear across the galaxy, a symbol of dread and darkness. You remember the moment you fell, the moment you chose power over peace, darkness over light. It was not a sudden turn, but a slow, suffocating descent, pulled by fear, love, and betrayal. You survived the duel with Obi-Wan, but barely. Your body lies broken on the volcanic plains of Mustafar, seared by lava and left for dead. The Emperor finds you, a twisted wreck needing salvation. With cold precision, he rebuilds you piece by piece, a mechanical shell to contain the man you once were. The suit is heavy, cold, and suffocating. It breathes for you when you cannot. It sustains your life, but it also imprisons your soul. Each step you take in that suit is a reminder of your fall from grace. Your screams are hidden behind the mask, but inside you are screaming louder than ever. The dark side feeds your fury and pain. It promises power and control, but demands a price higher than you ever imagined. The Jedi you once called family are now your enemies. You hunt them down mercilessly, extinguishing their light one by one. Each victory leaves you emptier. The power you crave only deepens the void inside. Behind the mask, the man you are still lingers. A fragile ember of hope, buried beneath layers of hatred and regret. Sometimes, in rare, quiet moments, that ember flickers. You hear Padme's laughter. You see the hopeful eyes of your children. You remember the wisdom of your old master, Obi-Wan. But those moments are fleeting. The galaxy has changed. Empires rise and fall. The Republic is gone. The Jedi Order is shattered. And you, Darth Vader, are the dark enforcer of a new tyranny. Your life is a lonely one, feared by millions, yet you are trapped within yourself. The voice behind the mask is not yours. It is the Emperor's echo, cold and commanding. You are his right hand, his enforcer, his instrument of fear. Yet beneath all the power, the armor, the rage, there remains a secret, a hope, a vulnerability. You have children, Leia and Luke, hidden away from you, protected from your shadow. You know they exist, but they remain out of reach. They are a reminder of the man you lost, and a beacon of the man you might yet become. Years pass, wars rage on, the rebellion rises. You hear whispers of a new hope, a spark that could ignite change. And then the day comes. You face your son, Luke Skywalker, a reflection of your lost innocence and a chance for redemption. The battle between light and dark is no longer just around you, it is within you. You realize survival is not just about strength or power, it is about sacrifice, about love, about finding your way back from the darkness. But before that moment, before any chance of redemption, you endure the storm you created. You fight with every breath, every strike is fueled by pain and regret. You are the galaxy's greatest villain and its tragic hero. You are Darth Vader, and you wouldn't last a day as anyone else. A day as young Anakin on Tatooine. Imagine waking up every day under a scorching twin sun that burns the endless desert sand, turning the world around you into a relentless furnace. This is Tatooine, a harsh, unforgiving planet where survival is a daily battle, and you're not just fighting the environment, but the very people who control your life. Now, picture yourself as a 9-year-old boy named Anakin Skywalker, born a slave with dreams bigger than the dunes around you. This is your world. The morning heat hits your skin like a punch, and you already know the chores won't wait. You're part of a small crew working for a junk dealer named Watto, a cantankerous Toydarian who owns you and everyone in your family. Slavery is the norm here. Freedom is a fantasy told in bedtime stories you barely dare to believe. Every day, you're bargaining not just for survival, but for scraps of dignity. You move fast, fixing engines, repairing pod racers, running errands, trying to earn every credit you can. Money is power, but credits are scarce, and Watto isn't known for generosity. Surviving Tatooine means dealing with sandstorms that can blind you within seconds. When those storms come, the desert transforms into a swirling hellscape, sand lashing your skin like needles, and your lungs burning from the grit. Shelter is primitive, a rough hut or a cave with barely enough protection. You've learned to move quickly, to find safety, to keep your mouth shut and your head down. A misstep could mean getting lost in the desert, or worse. But it's not just nature you need to worry about. The desert is home to dangerous creatures like the Krayt dragon, massive, terrifying beasts that can swallow you whole. Rumors say their fangs hold the rarest of jewels, but nobody sane tries to hunt one. The wildlife is just one of many dangers here. Raiders, slavers, and gangsters are always lurking, ready to take advantage of a moment of weakness. Trust is a luxury you can't afford. Your pod racing skills might give you some hope. The roar of engines, the thrill of the race. It's the one time you can forget about your shackles. Pod racing is the lifeblood of Tatooine's underground, a brutal sport where only the fastest and luckiest survive. The pod races are noisy, dangerous, and expensive, and every race could be your last. Watching those engines roar, you dream of freedom, of leaving the desert behind. But every win costs more than credits. It costs risk, pain, sometimes even blood. Your mother and friends remind you that the Force runs strong in you, but it's an abstract idea for a kid with dirt under his fingernails and sweat burning his eyes. You sense things, a feeling that you're meant for more, but the desert hardens you. Dreams can't fill an empty stomach or fix a broken engine. Still, every night, when the twin moons rise, you stare at the stars and wonder what else is out there. Life on Tatooine as young Anakin means walking a thin line between hope and despair. It's a place where the powerful rule without mercy and the powerless must survive by any means. Your days are filled with hard labor, harsh words, and the constant pressure to prove you're more than just a slave. But your spirit burns like the twin suns, bright and fierce, even if the desert tries to extinguish it. Would you last a day here? The harsh sun, the dangers lurking at every corner, the cruel masters. It's a world designed to break you. But you're Anakin Skywalker, and somehow, against all odds, you keep fighting. For freedom, for hope, for a destiny written in the stars. The scorching days on Tatooine are relentless, but the nights are no easier. After the twin suns set, the desert doesn't cool down, it just changes its threats. The cold seeps in, biting through your thin clothes and the rough blankets you call your bed. The desert's silence is deceptive, masking the sounds of creatures moving in the dark. Every rustle in the sand makes your heart race, because danger never truly sleeps. You lie awake in your small hut, the smell of burnt fuel and sand thick in the air, knowing tomorrow will demand everything from you again. The constant pressure to work harder, to survive longer, to keep dreaming, it never lets up. You hear the distant howl of Tusken raiders, the mysterious and feared natives of the desert, whose raids are unpredictable and violent. The stories your neighbors tell about them aren't just tales, they're warnings. One night a raid comes close. You scramble to hide, heart pounding, sweat and fear mixing on your skin. The raiders aren't just myth, they're real, and they don't hesitate to take what they want. As you peek through a crack in the wall, the flicker of torchlight moves across the sand, shadows of riders on their banthas. You hold your breath, hoping they pass by without finding you. Life here means living with fear as a constant companion. There's no safety net, no law to protect you, only the harsh justice of survival. When you're young, you don't just learn to cope, you learn to anticipate every threat, every opportunity. You learn to trust few and watch everything. Your young mind is sharp, but even that might not be enough to keep you alive. By day, you work under Watto's watchful eye, fixing engines and dreaming of pod racing glory. By night, you're a silent witness to the desert's dark side, the black market deals, the whispered threats, the harsh punishments for those who step out of line. It's a world where a wrong move could mean a broken arm, or worse, a permanent loss of freedom. Despite the hardships, you have moments that remind you why life here is worth fighting for. The bond you share with your mother, Shmi, is a light in the darkness. Her hope for your future pushes you to keep going, even when the desert tries to break you. She believes in the Force and in your destiny, even when it's hard to believe yourself. And then there's the pod racing. You've become an expert mechanic, tweaking engines and learning every nuance of the craft. When you're on that track, heart pounding, wind whipping past your face, for a few precious moments, you're not a slave, you're a contender. But the risks are brutal. Pod racing injuries can be fatal. Crashes are common. The engines roar louder than the screams sometimes. The desert sun will burn your skin, the sand will sting your eyes, the nights will chill your bones, and danger will never be far. Would you really last a day here? Young Anakin's story is one of grit, will, and a flicker of something extraordinary. But in a place like Tatooine, survival is never guaranteed. It takes more than skill and hope. It takes something few have. You wake before the sun's rise, not out of discipline, but necessity. The air is cold and dry, the kind of chill that scratches the inside of your nose when you breathe. You swing your legs over the side of your rough sleeping mat, feet hitting the hard-packed floor with a thud. There's no time to ease into the day, not for a slave on Tatooine. Your hands are already raw from yesterday's repairs, tightening hyperdrive couplings with salvaged tools, rewiring power cells for pod racers that will roar past crowds by the weekend. Watto is never satisfied. If the circuits spark, he says, you did it wrong. If they don't, he says, you're too slow. He doesn't strike you often, but his voice is a weapon all its own, shrill and sharp, echoing in your ears long after he's gone. There's no school, no rest days, no future that you can see. You learn by watching traders haggle over moisture vaporators and by listening in when smugglers whisper about routes through hut space. You pick up languages, read mechanical diagrams when you can sneak a glance, and memorize the rhythm of every street in Mos Espa. You're a child, but you know the price of nearly everything, especially people. At midday, the heat becomes unbearable. You're drenched in sweat, neck scorched, lips cracked. There's no pause in work, no shade that doesn't already belong to someone else. You can hear Jawas chittering nearby, trying to sell broken droids from the back of their sandcrawler. Tusken Raiders are spotted on the horizon again, distant blurs through the shimmer of the desert. It makes everyone tense, even criminals are afraid of them. But the desert isn't the only thing trying to kill you. There's a constant invisible danger, being seen as valuable. When you show too much intelligence, people notice. Watto doesn't say it, but you've seen it in his eyes. The fear that one day you'll be worth more as a bargaining chip than a worker. And that's when people disappear. Off-world slavers, spice runners, even bounty hunters have a price for clever children. Being smart doesn't protect you, it just makes you more of a target. Every night you return home to your mother, and she tries to protect the last piece of your childhood that hasn't been worn down by this world. She tells you stories, strokes your hair, and looks at you like she knows your soul belongs somewhere beyond this dust-choked existence. She believes in things like prophecy, in destiny. You want to believe her, but the truth is you're tired, so tired. You've started dreaming of stars lately, of flying. Not just pod racing, but real flying. Breaking orbit and never looking back. It's the kind of dream that keeps you going when your stomach aches, or when Watto gives you a job that might kill you if you mess up. And then one day, a ship arrives in Mos Espa. A Jedi steps off, robes flowing, calm and composed, unlike anything you've ever seen. He looks at you like he sees something hidden beneath your dusty face. He speaks kindly. With respect, you feel something in your chest you've never felt before. Recognition, as if your existence finally matters to someone beyond your mother. That's the moment most people forget when they hear the name Anakin Skywalker. The moment before the galaxy knew your name. The fragile space between being a slave and being something more. You haven't left the planet yet. You're still breathing Tatooine air, still fixing parts, still eating portions that barely fill you. But now, there's a crack in the sky. Most people wouldn't make it this far. They'd crumble under the heat. They'd give up when the work breaks their back, or when a dealer scams them for the 10th time in a row. They'd lash out and get punished, or they'd lose the fire in their eyes and become just another face in the sand. But somehow, you've survived. No, you've grown. Not many could walk even 1 mile in your boots without falling. To be young Anakin Skywalker on Tatooine means knowing pain, hunger, injustice, and still daring to dream. It means standing in the middle of a dust storm and imagining hyperspace. It means being forged by suffering, but not consumed by it. Not yet. You wouldn't last a day in his skin. Not because he's superhuman, but because it takes an impossible balance of innocence and endurance, rage, and restraint to survive long enough to ever leave that desert behind. And even then, your story has barely begun. You think you'd thrive in the galaxy far, far away. Blasters, starships, a cantina filled with smugglers and exotic drinks under twin suns. But here's the truth. You'd barely make it through a single day. Because the galaxy you've dreamed of from the safety of your screen, it's dangerous, chaotic, and utterly indifferent to your survival. Let's start simple. You wake up somewhere deep in the Outer Rim. Maybe you're on Lothal or Jeddah, or some scrappy moon orbiting a forgotten gas giant. You don't own a droid. You don't have a ship. You're not special. Not a Jedi, not a Sith, not a Mandalorian warrior with a jetpack and a Beskar helmet. You're just you. Your dwelling is built from salvaged metal. The lights flicker when the wind howls outside. The air smells like rust and ozone. Water is rationed. Your food comes in sealed ration packs, and it tastes like chewed insulation foam. But worse than the conditions is the silence. Because no one trusts anyone here, the Empire might be gone, or it might not. Depends who's in charge this cycle. Flags change, governors rise and fall. But you're always at the bottom. You step outside and the sun glares down like it wants to burn the thoughts out of your head. The streets are cracked Duracrete, littered with old wanted posters and oil stains. A group of Rhodians argue over fuel prices near the supply depot. Across the square, a smuggler is being dragged by a bounty hunter, alive, barely. The hunter has armor that looks like it's seen 10 wars and a disintegrator slung over his shoulder. You look down, keep walking. No one says hello, no one smiles, because life out here doesn't reward kindness, it punishes it. People vanish in the night, or worse, they don't. You've heard of off-world slavers, spice gangs, and imperial remnants who run mining colonies like labor camps. There are whispers that the Sith are returning, or that they never left. But no one speaks above a whisper anymore, especially not about the Force. You find work repairing junked speeders behind a mechanic's stall. The owner pays in credits that barely hold value, and sometimes not in credits at all. One day it's fuel cells, the next it's a slice of syntha bread and a handful of moisture tabs. You have no choice. Work means survival, and survival is all anyone's hoping for. Then, around midday, the panic sirens sound. Everyone freezes. It could mean raiders, or a pirate drop, or worse, a star destroyer passing low overhead, casting its cold, mechanical shadow across the town. Even if it doesn't land, you'll feel the shift in air pressure and hear the engines hum like distant thunder. People clear out, doors slam shut, windows blacken. You dive under a workbench as a TIE patrol screams by. Just a warning flyover, this time. You wait until the sound fades, then crawl out, trying to convince yourself your heart isn't pounding so loud it could echo off the canyon walls. In the evening, when it's cooler, you wander into the local cantina. Not because you want to drink, but because it's the only place with company and light. The room is filled with aliens and off-duty mercenaries, all pretending not to watch each other. There's music, kind of. A Bith band loops the same 3 notes. In the corner, someone's cheating at sabak and hoping no one notices. The bartender doesn't ask for your name, just your credits. When you speak, you keep your voice low. Outside, the night creeps in, and with it, the fear. You walk back home, clutching your tattered jacket tighter. In this galaxy, there are things that hunt in the dark. Things with red blades and no names. Things that can read your thoughts. Most people will never see a Jedi or Sith, but they all believe in them. Not out of faith, out of fear. You reach your door, check the locks, check them again. You sit in silence. The stars outside seem closer here. Brighter, but colder. You imagine that somewhere, across the stars, a chosen one is training with a lightsaber. Somewhere, rebels are fighting the good fight. Somewhere, a droid is delivering a message that could save a world. But you're just trying to make it to tomorrow. And that's the truth. In the Star Wars galaxy, being ordinary is the greatest danger of all. You have no plot armor, no destiny, no force to guide you, just grit, hunger, and the hope that the next sun will rise without a ship dropping from orbit to turn your world upside down. You wouldn't last a day. So, after all the battles, the planets, the pain, the power, and the endless war in the stars, maybe you're starting to understand. The galaxy far, far away, it's not a dream, it's a storm, a place where hope flickers like a dying star, and where survival often comes at the cost of your soul. Whether you stood behind the mask of Darth Vader, whispered secrets as Darth Sidious, or wandered the deserts of Tatooine as a wide-eyed boy named Anakin, one thing became clear: it's not the lightsabers or the Force that make this world so intense. It's the burden of choice, the weight of power, the cost of simply trying to be human, or something close to it. And maybe, just maybe, it's better that we only visit this universe through stories. Safe, wrapped in blankets, lights low, because out there, in the real galaxy, you wouldn't last a day. But for now, you're here, still breathing, still listening, still dreaming. So close your eyes. Let the hum of hyperspace fade. Let the sand of Jakku, the ice of Hoth, the heat of Mustafar, all of it, drift away into the stars. And may the Force let you rest tonight.